how is it now that the verdict has come down? There is such a difference in the perception of whether the verdict was a good one, a bad one, the right one, or the wrong one, and how the prosecution handled it.
Well, first of all, there's absolutely no way that we can justify what Zimmerman did. It was clear that he was outside the scope of his authority. He was outside the scope of his responsibility, and he was also outside the scope of reality. Number one, a child walking in a community is not a threat. There was no indication in any of the facts that he was looking at someone's house. He was circling cars. He was walking in a community. So as it relates to two individuals, one being a neighborhood watch person, and another one being a child walking home, there's absolutely nothing that could have led this situation to where it was, except for Mr. Zimmerman being an over-aggressive, inappropriate watchman with a gun. That's why, to a certain extent, and I believe in our constitutional right to carry arms, but some people just shouldn't have weapons. Guns are not supposed to be used for protection per se, because if someone's going to rob you, and you got a hidden gun, the only time you're going to get to use that is after they finish robbing you. It's not like the Wild Wild West. So it's not a true form of protection. It's really a way of shooting back at a person that's already shooting you, or surprising a person that may not have a weapon. And that's what happened in this circumstance. What I heard in the facts is that Zimmerman saw someone that he wanted to accost. He didn't see him committing a crime. He wanted to accost this child. He did that. The response he got was not of his liking. Okay, that's what happened. I don't even believe in the fact that the child ran. I really believe that Zimmerman provoked him to the point where he felt as though he had to defend himself. When he defended himself and shot Zimmerman, he got the best of Zimmerman, and then Zimmerman used the weapon in order to, what he says, to save his life. But what he did was he brought a gun to a fist fight. And in any state, I'm not sure about any other states other than Maryland, but in Maryland, that is not true self-defense. You cannot use a gun on an unarmed person. You cannot say the concrete and the sky and the air is a weapon. I mean, that would never work in the state of Maryland. If you have a gun, then I can use a gun under our self-defense laws. If you got a stick, I can use a stick. But if I put up my fist and refight, you cannot bring a knife to that battle. You cannot bring a gun to that battle. So the reason why he was found not guilty was because he was in Sanford, Florida. If he was in any other state in the Union that didn't have to stand your ground, and they didn't even use that defense, this was a straight self-defense argument. That he did not have to take the stand and actually put his side on. You guys notice that he never took the stand. And hopefully we'll get to talk about that in a little bit as to why it was a brilliant defense strategy not to put him on the stand.
Based upon what Mike said, aren't we glad we live in Maryland? But going to Roland's question as well regarding two different dynamics of people coming into a situation with each other. It was dark. We know that. We know that Trayvon had a hoodie on. Trayvon was physically bigger than Zimmerman. So when Zimmerman approached Trayvon, he probably didn't know, like Mike said, what he was about to get. And I'm sure he got a lot more than we know. Okay, I believe from what I see with Trayvon and his family that Trayvon put up a fight. That Trayvon, when he felt accosted, when he felt like he was being threatened, he did what he would do and what all of us would probably do, and that was to try to protect ourselves.
Mark,
so,
if he felt threatened, why was it that he was standing his ground?
Well, he's dead, and so therefore that doesn't become relevant. That's the problem. If Trayvon was injured, then he could have definitely used stand your ground. But Trayvon is dead, so therefore he had no defense. His spirit is his defense.
Right.
So from the standpoint of these two individuals coming into contact with each other in the middle of the night, in the dark. Now remember, Trayvon was walking in the light. Okay, before all this happened, Trayvon was walking in the light. He was walking where George Zimmerman could see him in his car. When he began to move, he moved toward the middle, toward the dark, because he was trying to get to his father's house. And if I stop there for a second, all of us church-going people, it's interesting that he was trying to get to his father's house. Now think about that for a minute, okay? Because long term, that's what's going to stay on George Zimmerman's mind. This man was trying to get to his father's house. But the point is that when Zimmerman got approached or tried to accost, like Mike said, Trayvon, he didn't know what he was about to get, and he didn't know who he was about to get in front of. And he called them punks because also, if you don't know, I think it was a week or 10 days prior to that, there was a robbery in that neighborhood of 3 black boys that went in and robbed somebody. And so George Zimmerman was at this predicated, I'm going to get them punks, because what he saw was 3 punks that got away, and he decided that Trayvon was that type of person, where we found out that Trayvon wasn't. So you got this dynamic where 2 people come in the middle of the night and meet each other, both with 2 totally different ideas of what's going on. And what ensued was that George Zimmerman was overzealous with his axe, with his gun, and with his, like Maurice said, with his mindset. And a lot of this goes back to mindset of both of them, but the mindset that he was a cop and that he had all the rights thereof. And I'm sure that didn't hurt that his father was a judge and felt like he could get away from it. So, you got to look at the pieces. There's so many pieces to this thing we're going to talk about. But you got to look at the pieces of that puzzle to say, you got 2 people coming from different backgrounds, from different situations, in the middle of the night, in the dark. And what ensued, none of us were really going to know, because I believe George Zimmerman lied a lot. But at the same time, some of the things that, the sin of omission, when he didn't get on the stand, the sin of omission was, we don't know.